Alright, so what's important when using boards to make, well, just about anything, is knowing what part of the board is good and what is not. The center of the board, or right here, is the pith. We want to get rid of that. We want to cut it to where we're getting this straight grain here. Pith is where your cracking occurs for the most part, and that's what's causing your warpage. So we need to get rid of those. Luckily, this little old box is going to be about 3 3/4, which is going to give me some really nice grain. Up and down, which is quarter sawn. So let's cut some wood. Now the end box is only going to be 14 and a half by about 9 inches wide. The board will absolutely fit on there. You could take the easy way out and just put that on there, but you're running into the same problem, which is the pith here. We want the top and bottom to remain flat. So we're going to have to cut out the pith, glue the boards back together in order to come up with the width and length we need. So I know cutting the pith out seems like an extra step, and it is, but if you go through the time to do that, your box, tabletop, shelf, whatever you're making will last longer, and it'll be easier to go together. Won't really have a problem with it warping. Far more stable throughout the wood movement season, which is every season because wood moves. So I've taken time to line up the grain. Probably can't see this, but you know, little pink to pink, white to white. Make sure the grain looks good together. If you're worrying about the little nail holes, they want it distressed and rustic, and nail holes do that. So let's get this all glued up, and then we'll cut it. This is enough for the top and the bottom. After it sets, we'll cut them to fit. All right, so now it's time to make decisions. Got to figure out how you want to mount the top, how you want to mount the bottom, and then what you're going to use for the sides. Typically, I would use either a dovetail or a box joint. On this one, I think I'm just going to miter the corners and then run a spline. So I got to kind of lay that out, and then get that cut. Now to run the top, I'm going to make the top 1/2 inch. So I need to run a rabbet 1/2 inch deep and about 1/4 of the way in. So it's going to be about right there, and this will all be taken out 1/2 inch deep to fit the top. That should give me a real nice seam, and I want the top 1/2 inch because we're going to be carving some initials into it. So let's go get these milled up. So using my gauge blocks, I have the blade set for 1/2 inch high and 1/4 inch to the outside of the blade from the fence. So the outside of the blade is 1/4 inch. So when I run my boards through, it's going to go 1/2 inch high, which will end up being the 1/2 inch deep, which is the size of the top, and 1/4 inch in. Okay? All right. again, using gauge blocks, I'm gonna move my fence to where it's a half inch to the outside of the blade, and just high enough to cut through that 1/4 inch. Nothing worse than crappy blue tape. So just check for square. Get your measurements on the inside. Now that's a heater. All right, so real quick before we glue anything together, we'll do a dry fit. Excuse me. That's beautiful. Fits great. Yep. All right, so now do a quick sanding on everything that's going to be hard to get to once it's an actual box. Taper back up, put some glue on there, glue the top and bottom. It's also a good idea at this point to mark how far down your top goes. We should be right in there, because we're going to cut the lid off after it all sets up. Just below that, so then you know everything fits together nice and pretty. Alright, so now the box is all set up and dried. I got my handy dandy little spline jig. I have the 1/8 inch insert for the dado stack. I'm using that because that's the only blade I have that is a true 1/8 inch, and it'll give you a nice clean bottom. I also have it set up to focus. Focus you. There we go. As you can see, it's not busting through the bottom. It is very close, but it's not busting through. So that way when they go together, you have a nice square edge. Nice square edge, and everybody's happy. I have the box marked 1.25 inches, equal divisions of my 3 3/4. Keeping in mind that our top and bottom are a 1/2 inch down. Have those marked also. And when I cut the lid off, I'm gonna cut it right at 1 inch. So we should be good. So all the splines are cut. Now I just have to mill up some 1/8 inch, well, splines, glue them in there. Alright, so got the initials cut in off of the top. No one wants to see CNC, so anyway, it's done. Just have to paint the inside before I finish. Alright, so what I got here is I got a few boards milled up to 1/4 inch thick by 1.5 inches wide. They're gonna go in here in a cross lattice type deal to keep the pillows in. So hopefully you can see kind of how that's gonna go there. So before I get too excited, I'm gonna clean up the glue on the edges. Some that's squeezed out on the bottom. Just using the fresh chisel. Fresh chisel, a nicely sharpened chisel. So it did take a little 2 trips, but as you can see, it's a snug fit. But not tight enough to where it's gonna make the sides bow. Okay, so got these marked out from the, yeah, okay, so from this side to the top of the bottom is 7 inches. So I need 7 inches long, but then I only need to slot, I only need to make 1 slot on each of these. And on these, like I said, this will be bottomed out. So let's go cut 1, 2, 3, oh, I only need 4. 5 pillows, 4 racks at 7. So let's go cut these at 7. And we'll make the slot. Okay, so make this easy. I got, of course they're 7 inches long. Got the center line marked. It'd be 3.5 plus or subtract 1/8 on each side, which should give me my 1/4 inch. And then it's 1.5 inches wide, so 3/4 of an inch. So this is the section we would need to take out. We're gonna do these 7 first, or 4 first. I don't know why I keep getting 7. We're gonna do these 4 first, making sure I cut on the correct side, which is the flat side, because this is gonna slip over the top. And then when we cut this one, we'll cut with the round side down, and then everything should just line up happy. All right, so now you've spent all that time getting it nice and square, flat, pretty. Got the inside taken care of, except for the finish. I did put a magnet in there and some no slip little pads on the bottom. So like I said, now that it's all nice and pretty, it's time to put on some angry music and bust a chisel out, a chain, some rough sandpaper, and de-stress it. So let me go put on some angry music. All right, so here she is. It looks pretty rustic. Opens nice. I need to let this dry just a little bit longer before I put the pillows in there. But they should fit. I mean, we did the math, right? So there you go. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.